my childhood trauma stories and how they affected my relationships. And the reason I wanted to bring it up is because you said, the way that we heal through this is by actually paying attention to the wound and to the trauma, because that actually softens a bit when you first start paying attention. I never really knew that I had any childhood traumas at all. And funny enough, I was beaten horribly, as bad as it sounds, by my mom. And I was at that point, no one. I was in a cultural setting in India where everybody was like, "Yeah, dude, we're all fucking getting beaten, or like we're all beating our kids. Move on," kind of thing. And I went, and my nervous system was so dysregulated, and I was such a I don't want to say bad kid, but the word is bad kid. I was very physically aggressive, and I was even diagnosed with ADHD, a hyper energy disorder, and attention. But it was strongly because, and here's the craziest thing, because even when my mom was carrying me, she was going through so much trauma and she didn't really want to have me. And I only discovered this when we had a conversation last year. But it ended up with me absorbing so much of the dysregulation while I was in her womb, me being born with such a dysregulated system, and also having a parent who didn't necessarily want to have me but did have me, their internal frustrations, etc. So all of that compounded into this unspoken wound of abandonment. And I want to say unspoken wound of abandonment to all of you guys, because you don't have to have a father or a mother leave you for you to feel abandoned. Right. You don't have to have a father or a mother even say, "I don't want you to be abandoned." The most powerful thing about a child is that their mind is like a sponge, because their mind just was freshly created, right? So it's trying to absorb everything. So it doesn't need the mind to be able to learn how to drive, to create mathematical complex solutions, to create decisions of like life and death. A child's mind doesn't need that. But what a child's mind does need is to understand, what is my environment like? What is safe and not safe? What is natural and not natural? What is black, white, yellow, brown? Which is why most children can't distinguish between, colors, right? All you put kids of any race together and they love each other, because they haven't been conditioned yet into believing what is dangerous, safe, unsafe, and not. And so, again, I explain this a lot, but this is my favorite thing to tell people. When you're a child, you don't have that forebrain. You only have the mid and the hindbrain, which actually is where your subconscious is stored. It's your fear centers, your emotion centers, all of that is your hindbrain, which is where the subconscious exists. And so as your subconscious or your brain is developing, you don't have the ability to decide, who am I? Because you don't know if you're white, brown, blue boy. Most of the times you don't even know if you're a boy or a girl until you grow older, right? And then your classmates say it and whatever. So how you really discover who you are as a child and what your worth, what your value is, what your love is by observing how the world treats you and by absorbing what the world teaches you. And so that is what we call neuroception in the world of neuroscience. I'm sure you're very familiar with it. But if you now, let's say you're in an environment where you want to give all the love, you want to go towards daddy and you're like, "Daddy, I love you." Or in my case, it was towards mommy and be like, "Mommy, I love you." But mommy comes back and slaps you. Your first idea of human connection or love is that I am so shitty that every time I show up as myself with love, I get slapped in return. That's going to do one of two things for me. Either that's going to get me to run away from love all the time, and so I can become an avoidant, possibly. But in my case, what happened is it pushed me to become a more anxious. I was more disorganized, but more on the anxious side, where I was like, fuck, I have got to find a way to please mommy so that she can actually give me love. And I was like, me being affectionate, not really working out. Me trying to go with love, not really working out. So let me observe, what are the ways I get love? For me, when I was a kid, it was when I performed. And so when I came back with a grade that was really good, I noticed my mom was like, "Oh, good job, you did really well." And she'd rub my back. Things that would not awfully happen. And for a child, you absorb these small fucking things, which is why Netflix and cuddling sometimes can mean so much to you, because when you were a child, you had no one really hold you and keep you safe. And it sounds stupid, right? You're like, why does Netflix and cuddling make me feel so fucking great? It's because of the oxytocin connection and the support and validation you didn't get as a child. So now in my story, I was further feeling like I was abandoned because I was so mischievous and bad that they sent me to boarding school. And most of my life, I therefore lived, the connection that I was trying to get was even further pushed away. And I only had one phone call in a year with my parents in boarding school, and that was on my birthday. So on my birthday, I had to basically save all my grades and everything to try and tell my mom in the short period of time, this is what I did, blah, 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 to get that love. Now, exactly, just to feel some level of connection. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up to all of you here is because fast forward 30 fucking years of my life, right? And now I'm in the future of my past version. And I'm like, oh, wow, this must be like, that was me when I was a kid. Now I'm like this guy who's like young and fit and blah, blah, blah. And relationship should be easy fucking breezy. But in every situation I find that, or at least in my past when I was working, I would attract relationships where I had to continuously prove myself. And the person even then was like barely wanting me. And at the end of all of it, the relationship would fucking end. And I would abandon myself throughout that process in trying to prove myself. And now I'm realizing that, for example, today I was doing, and this is after 10 years of doing reparenting work, right? So I'm telling you guys, this is a constant and a beautiful process because it takes us higher and higher. I have had much more successful relationships each step of the way, as you can probably like attest to. But when I was doing my meditation today, I said, why am I still like on social media? Why am I afraid when someone comments and says, you know, Yats, you don't fucking know what you're talking about, or what you're saying is shit. Like, this doesn't really make sense, or like, I don't agree with any of it. And I realized that it has nothing to do with that person. It has nothing to do with who I am. It has to do with that same story of my mom 30 years ago saying, I don't think you really know this shit. Like, oh, you're not really good enough in this space. And so we unconsciously relive that same story until we change the attachment to the past wounds. This is so important to tell you guys because there's a lot of work out there that says, just focus on feeling good. Just focus on feeling good. Just focusing on being in present. Just focus on that. Yes, those are right. But you cannot really focus on being in the present if your past is holding on to you like fucking chains, because it's still going to be holding on to you in that space and preventing you from being free in the present. And so I myself had to go into like a huge reparenting meditation today. And I do my meditations all the time, but just to go back to that little boy and do the opposite of what was done to him, to hold him, to rub his back, and to say like, you are enough just as you are. You're so important no matter what grades you bring and come back home with. And to visualize and feel in that moment, doing a meditation or a breath work that can take you so far back into your mind, slow down your brain waves from like this beta state into a deep alpha, a theta stage where you can actually go deep into your brain and you can see the story. You can feel the rejection and the abandonment, but you can also therefore tune it so you start feeling the sense of security. You start feeling the sense of being looked out for being cared for being validated. And in my work, at least, it is impossible, in my opinion, for someone to just reparent themselves from the conscious mind, to just reparent themselves from the state of just saying, I'm going to talk to myself and just say, hey, you deserve better and you're going to get it. I think you have to.
You have to visit.
Exactly. And you have to go deep into your subconscious, because that's where the trauma and the pain and the invalidation is still stored. And you do that through various like meditative techniques. You do that through various breathwork techniques. You can do it. I mean, there's EMDR, etc. But the two of those things, the nervous system approach of diving deep into your central nervous system, your brain, plus the approach of actually doing the meditations to reparent, have to be combined to create that totalic effect. And that effect is fucking amazing. Are you hurting from shame, loneliness, toxic relationships? Do you want to break that pattern and create a beautiful, loving life for yourself? Well, my name is Yats, and I'm an inner work and relationship guru. And I have helped thousands of women and men from all around the world learn to become their best selves and have the lives that they truly want and desire. This channel was designed for you to be able to heal those old wounds, be able to become and elevate your best self, and to you to love your life really that you have right now. And I offer an 8-week program called the GAUNTLET, which takes you on this amazing journey of healing those wounds. And I also offer in-person live retreats all around the world where you can access that same level of healing and empowerment. I want you to do something for you today. I want you to watch some of these videos. And if these videos hit close to home, they resonate with you and they're giving you some inspiration, then I want you to subscribe and share it with somebody else who needs it. These videos aren't just for someone to consume. They're meant to inspire people to take action. And if you want to take action in your own life, jump in the comments, watch the videos, send me a DM at the Inner Yats on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.